All right, this is our Reflection 2. I'm Andrew. My partners are Jaden and Connor. And so this week, most of the themes that we covered were how cities have developed over time, how cities are organized, and the theories and practices of city layouts, and how different factors affected city developments in different places. So a lot about just the history of cities and how they developed, and more so the theories and how different people thought of city development and different ideas along city development.
The Growth of the City by Ernest Burgess. Um, he discusses the in-depth makeup of a city as it expands. He discusses the social aspects in addition to physical. He describes a breakdown of the city in zones. The illustration here makes it easy to understand. Here on this slide, the zones represents different types of people, housing, and activities. At the very center of the city, within the loop of the downtown business area, or central business district. He states that the following layer zone is where you find a lot of immigrants, lower income families, and in his model he labels it as a slum or a ghetto. More than likely, it's where you find a high number of homeless people. In the next zone, you'll find the working class. The following zones where you'll find residential areas for the middle class. This is usually the suburbs of the city. The final zone in his model is the commuter zone, which usually encompasses the upper class or richer neighborhoods who can afford to live further away from the city. Essentially, he explains how the makeup of people, their incomes, and activities vary based on where you live in the city. In The Town Country Magnet by Ebenezer Howard, he tries to tackle the problem of where people should live. Howard points out that most people think about two choices, those being a choice between the city or the country, both coming with their own pros and cons. Cities offer opportunities, social connections with lots of different people. However, cities often come with pollution, high rent, and social issues. The country offers peacefulness and nature that you wouldn't find in a city, but it also comes with smaller wages, less opportunities, and often lacks the social connections that cities have, although it might be more tight-knit. Howard introduces the three magnets diagram, which also introduces another option for people to live called garden cities. The diagram refers to the three choices as town magnet, country magnet, and the town country magnet. The idea for garden cities is to take the best of both worlds and create an ideal place for people to live. The new urbanism refers to planning and design ideas introduced in the late 20th century. These ideas use neighborhoods for building blocks in cities, building around them for the neighborhood. Um, the idea also leans more to designing cities to be more compact, better for pedestrians, using more sidewalks and public transportation. There are also mixed use zoning with businesses and entertainment being in the same areas and more public space in mind. Designing cities with these ideas in mind will help deal with the problem of sprawl and lead to more connected society.
Right. So a contemporary city by Le Corbusier. It's a new design for cities. And his theory is that we need to increase density for the modern city, and that cities were becoming too spread out. So there'll be a dense inner city that'll be surrounded by a protected green space or forest space, and then with the garden cities or suburbs on the outside of that protected green space or forest space. In the inner city, where the central business district is, there'll be tall skyscrapers built up to increase the density, but in those skyscrapers will be surrounded by a park space to keep the city green. As well, the theory includes stacked roadways based upon classification of traffic. His argument is the current road system is not good enough with all different kinds of classifications of traffic together. So his theory is to separate those into three different classifications and stack them, including burying them some underground, and then the city would be centered around a grand station in the middle for transit. And people from the garden cities can come into the central business district to work. And it creates a city model for a population of 3 million people. And then how cities are organized by Crash Course. It goes over some of the various theories for how cities have grown and kind of the history of cities. So it touches on the concentric zone model, which we discussed a little earlier, and how cities tend to expand outward in the various different levels of the city as it goes outward. It also discusses urban form and can show the history, growth, and the future of a city. So by looking at the various different areas of a city, you can see how it has developed and where future development might be as it continues to expand outward. And with that urban form, we see the rise of edge cities with their own central business district. So these bigger suburbs have their own draw. So not only are people living in the suburbs and going into the city, but they're living in the suburbs and working in those in their own central business district, creating more various in the central business district. And it also discusses the different geographic, climate, and cultural factors in cities and how they lead to the cities taking on different forms. And the video discusses the difference between, most US cities with urban sprawl and how they've grown outward, and discusses that compared to North African cities, which are centered around a central mosque, but also are built to help protect them from the heat and earthquakes, so they're a little more dense to provide more shade and more protection against the earthquakes.
Chapter two of this book challenges sprawl by promoting transit-oriented development. The goal is to create walkable neighborhoods and preserve natural landscapes. Planning at this scale helps reduce car dependency and fosters more sustainable, equitable cities. Chapter 3 describes how neighborhoods, districts, and corridors form the fabric of a well-designed community. Neighborhoods function as a compact, walkable area that includes most daily needs. These often only require a 5-minute walk to get anywhere. Districts are specialized zones that serve a focused purpose. Examples of districts are medical centers, business parks, and art districts. Corridors are the connections between community areas and often are either transits, boulevards, or parkways. Chapter 4 describes human scale design. This includes all aspects that make people want to spend time somewhere. Park benches, storefronts, and porches are some examples of this. Chapter 5 pushes for policy change and better planning for new urbanism. It discusses how the American dream has caused sprawl, segregation, and isolation within many cities. This episode explores how citizens can become more environmentally and socially sustainable in the face of climate change, population growth, and inequality. It introduces Climatopia's blueprints for greener cities and highlights the importance of environmental planning that blends ecology, urban design, and community needs. Tools like smart growth and zoning are essential to building compact, walkable areas that reduce car use and conserve space. The video also emphasizes ecological design, integrating nature and urban infrastructure through features like green roofs and energy efficient buildings. Planners must navigate conflicting priorities, retrofit existing infrastructure, and address environmental justice to ensure all communities benefit equally. Today's planners and communities are increasingly blending the lessons of the past with forward-looking strategies like environmental planning, smart growth, and community engagement to build cities that are inclusive, resilient, and sustainable. In the end, the city is an evolving experiment in how we choose to live together, and our task now is to shape that future with purpose, care, and creativity.